all set, thanks. I'll be close by if you need anything. Hi, what's up? Got it. Okay, thanks.
Good afternoon. I'm Reverend Linda Susan Ulrich, and I'm the minister here at the Unitarian Society of New Haven, and it's my privilege to welcome you to the service honoring the life of Helene Goward, whether you're joining us here in the sanctuary or at home through the live stream. Thanks to each of you for your presence. We gather this afternoon as one community, bound together by loss and united by gratitude to be among those whose lives Helene touched. We'll begin with Helene's husband, Bill, lighting the chalice.
I've been here for 58 years. This is the first time I ever lit the show.
The cup of community holds the life-affirming fire that shines within, among, and beyond each of us. It is a symbol of hope that unites Unitarian Universalists across space and time, however difficult any given moment might be. At every memorial service, I make a practice of sharing some important things about grief. First, there's no single way to grieve. It doesn't follow a tidy pattern. It may show up as sadness or anger, regret, despair, or maybe many things at once. We may get overtaken by tears or shut down by numbness. We may find ourselves wanting to share a story and then remember with shock that our loved one is gone. Grief ebbs and flows, and each of us must find our own way through. The task of grief is paradoxical: to hold on to the legacy that has been gifted to us, and at the same time, to honor the full depth of what we've lost. The hand that cups is the same as the hand that releases. We also need to know that when we lose someone we love, it brings back every other loss we've suffered, like the wires inside a piano vibrating in response to a bass drum. Though each of us needs time to grieve alone, we also need to return to our communities of family and friends, because however beautiful a single voice may be, it's the harmonies we make together that make the heart swell. Today, we gather our voices to strengthen each other in our grief, to hold this family in the midst of their loss, and to be reminded that life is indeed a fragile gift. I invite you into a moment of meditation, prayer, or contemplation of ultimate things. Spirit of love and compassion, come. Be with us as we celebrate the life of Helene Goward. Hold in your tender embrace those who have gathered here today, physically or virtually, as well as those who could not be present. Offer them comfort and protect the spark of hope that in its own time will once again burn brightly. Blessed be.
It's better. Thinking of Helene brings a smile to our faces and a good feeling for her interest and warmth. We became good friends from our participation in the extended family program here at USNH. It was introduced in 1973. This program started in California, of course, and crossed the country to Connecticut. It involved developing a substitute for families who had no relatives nearby. The program enrolled members in a replication of actual extended families. Members were young, single, married, old, to represent grandparents. Helene and Bill were members with us in our extended family. We got together for meals, We had projects including a victory garden, which almost destroyed the extended family, holidays, particularly Thanksgiving. The Gowards at that time had the largest house and the best cook, Helene, so we usually met there initially. At the time, the youngest, the twins, were teens, and Helene had a lot to cope with. She was a quintessential mother and hostess. She inevitably produced wonderful food, especially her cookies, and with her loving presence made everyone feel comfortable and welcome. In addition, she had a great sense of humor.
I've always wanted to be on television. One of our fond memories was the Thanksgiving at the Gowards after the meal, when I found their always hungry cat, called Mother, inside the refrigerator feasting on the carcass of the turkey. Helene didn't even blink. Having raised 5 kids, she had seen it all. Helene was very active in establishing the extended family program, particularly selecting members for each family, usually 12 to 15 members. She dealt with the complications of Unitarians who had very concrete ideas of who should be placed with whom, and in which family. Again, she was a soul of warmth and acceptance. Helene leaves a large hole in our still existing extended family, and she is missed.
Hi, I'm John Watson. You just heard the Levisons talk about the extended family in its early years. Susan and I joined the family much later, so I'm going to tell you a quirky little story about Helene's sweetness and sense of fun. If you remember her from later years only and didn't know her well, you might have thought, oh, what a sweet, quiet old lady. And you wouldn't be wrong. Exactly. However, there was the Helene the family knew through one of our family traditions. During the Christmas season each year, we had a dessert gathering. Ann Levison's mini mince pies, yum, at which we held what's called a Yankee swap or Yankee auction. If you don't know about that tradition, as I, being brought up in the South, did not, everyone brings a modest wrapped gift. Well, modest meaning cheap is one desired attribute, but silly, weird, once I got fossil dinosaur dung, contributed by Helene, I think, or downright incomprehensible, or both, also sought-after qualities. Then you draw one of the gifts in order by lot. Then it gets fun and a bit mean in a lighthearted way, because people drawing later can pick from the remaining unclaimed items or take a gift from those who went first. This can also get complicated. For example, does someone whose gift has been taken away have any restrictions on how and whom they can then dispossess? Is it no takebacks? Can a multi-member family group defeat the no-backsies rule by acting as surrogates for each other? There's a good deal of mock recrimination and moaning as the competition for desirable items heats up. Well, long before we joined the family, Helene had become the keeper of the rules. When a question arose, no matter how abstruse, Helene would unhesitatingly give firm answers. Predictably, her rulings soon became the target of pretended indignation, not so subtle suggestions that her rulings were cooked up on the spur of the moment to further the Gowards' sinister collusion to grab all the good stuff for themselves. Helene, of course, responded with round-eyed protestations that the rules were just the rules, and favoritism was the furthest thing from her mind. You know, she never said so, but I always suspected that Helene, that picture of innocence, was delighted by the suggestion of wickedness on her part. I'm sure I saw a gleam of mischief in her eye many a time. So, yes, Helene was a quiet, sweet lady. But she was also fun and funny and smart and enjoyed a hint of mischief. I will remember that about her.
I have to get used to getting shoes on because I wear sandals all the time during the summer. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. This comes from our hymnal. It spoke to me. It's called "We Need One Another." It's a responsive reading, but I'll do the responsive part myself. We need one another when we mourn and would be comforted. We need one another when we are in trouble and afraid. We need one another when we are in despair, in temptation, and need to be called to our best selves again. We need one another when we would accomplish some great purpose, but cannot do it alone. We need one another in the hour of success, when we look for someone to share our triumphs. We need one another in the hour of defeat, when encouragement we might endure and stand again. We need one another when we come to die, and would have gentle hands to prepare us for the journey. All of our lives we are in need, and others are in need of us. I and my family are in need of you, and we thank all of you for coming.
To keep everyone safe, I will sing the hymn, Spirit of Life. I invite you into a receptive mode, and if you really can't stop yourself from singing, maybe just hum. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea. Move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, and wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
No question. Tried it. Yeah.
Knowing what I know of death and dying. Hello, everyone. In my life's work, I've had the opportunity to be with a good number of people as they passed. Each death is different, as each of us is different and individual. But with family, especially a parent, we all have the expectation that we're going to be able to gather around our parent, around our family member, and be with them as they pass from this world. Unfortunately, COVID took away that experience. My mother was fortunate in that my dad and my sister were able to spend some time with her a few days before she passed. And knowing what I know of death and dying, I know that that gave her ease and comfort during that difficult transition. The evening before she passed, I had a feeling that she might be going. And I pulled out one of my favorite poems by Mary Oliver on death. And I went through it that night hoping that she would transition easily and not feel alone in that time. And I want to read it today to share with you. I've modified it a bit because it helped me to think of how it might be as she left this world. When death came, like a hungry bear in autumn, when death came and took all the bright coins from her purse to buy her and snap that purse shut. When death came like the measles pox, when death came like the iceberg between the shoulder blades. I wanted her to step through the door full of curiosity, wondering, what's it going to be like, that cottage of death? And that she looked upon everything as a brotherhood and a sisterhood, and that she looked upon time as no more than an idea, and that she considered eternity as another possibility, and that she thought of each life as a flower, as common as a field daisy and as singular, and that each name was comfortable music in the mouth, tending as all music does towards silence, and each body a lion of courage and something precious to the earth. When it was all over, that she wanted to say, all my life, I was the bridemaid married to amazement. I was the bridegroom taking the world into my arms. When it was all over, she didn't wonder if she made her life something particular and real, that she didn't find herself sighing and frightened and full of argument, that she didn't end up simply having visited this world. Each one of us carries the legacy of our mother. It passes through us and around us. And in this time when her family is gathered, some of us near, some of us far, hopefully children, grandchildren, and maybe even great-grandchildren are gathered here. I know that her gifts have been passed in and through us. With my next sister, Kathleen, her wonderful eye for photography and for sewing. For my brother Bill, so good at organizing and putting things into a pattern. For my sister Jan and her ability to gather and make people feel at home. And my brother Jim with his wonderful artistic gift with the woodworking. When I was up there last month, he said to me, it's inside of me and it has to come out. And I really feel as though that's the way my mother felt with her gifts, with her artwork, with her wonderful talents as far as needlework and crocheting and quilting. It was that it had to come out, and it did. And her gift to me was her wonderful ability to put her hands on the earth and make things thrive and grow. And I have that gift too. And hopefully through the gift of my hands, through her legacy, I bring comfort to other people and healing. Thank you so much. Take good care.
celebration.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Good afternoon. Thank you all so much for attending the celebration of my mom's life. As some of you may or may not know, Jan, the person to my immediate left, and I are twins, and to be clear, identical? No. Special bond? Absolutely. I have vivid memories of a round trip we took from Connecticut to Edmonton, Alberta, Canada by train with my mom to visit her parents. I'm guessing about 52 hours one way. We were no older than 4 at the time, and I recall we pretty much terrorized everyone on the train. No one was spared. Despite this, we all made it back safely to Connecticut. I look back on this now, and I think to myself about my mom's accomplishment. Wow, now that's courageous. Life lesson from my mom. For as long as I can remember, if litter was seen by my mom, she would pick it up and properly dispose of it. Well, this lesson, learned by example, was if you observe a wrong, correct it. Don't dwell on who did the wrong. This can be applied to so many things in life, something that will certainly be passed on to future generations. My nephew found a note I had written when I was very young to my mom, which said, "Dear Mom, I promise to do better in school and clean my room once a week." Well, 1 out of 2 isn't bad.
Good job.
Now, to the beautiful person on my left. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Today we are honoring, celebrating, and remembering my mom, Helene Tremaine McCrae Goward. Thank you for joining us. My mom was a kind, gentle, humble person. She never asked for much, but gave much in return. She enjoyed knitting, dancing, singing, crocheting. She was very artistic and loved taking pictures, creating many photo albums. When she was younger, she also enjoyed water skiing, snow skiing, and speed skating. And every morning she used to play the piano before we left for school. She was an avid gardener and could make anything grow. She especially loved growing peonies that still blossom in my parents' yard every spring. My mother became a nurse when she was living in Canada, and it showed with her compassion and nurturing ways. There are 5 children in our family. I don't know how she did it, and the last 2 were twins. It helped that she was very organized. We spent summers at Candlewood Lake. How do you pack up 5 kids and a dog? When did she sleep? I had the pleasure of growing up in USNH and also taught Sunday school with my mom. She had a calm way with children, and they were drawn to her. She loved her grandchildren, Ryan, Shane, and Olivia. When I had to go back to work, she would drive from Clinton to Wallingford to pick them up and back to Clinton, no matter what type of weather. She would take them to the beach, bake with them, play in the leaves, do arts and crafts, and read to them. She adored them and spoiled them. Mom was my inspiration to try to be the best mother to my children and best abuela to my grandchildren. She was a big influence to my siblings and I in our love and passion for animals and gardening. She used to call me Magoo because I would wander around the neighborhood blindly. She would find me at a neighbor's house having milk and cookies. I would also like to mention our immediate family who were not able to join us today. My brother Bill, his wife Marilyn, his children Nicole and Christopher, and their children, great-grandchildren, Adelina, Charlotte, Andrew, and Tyler, who all live in California. Our sister Beverly, who just spoke, who's in Virginia. My stepdaughter Elizabeth, who lives in Minnesota. And my stepson Alberto, his wife Rachel, and our granddaughters Sophia and Elise. They live in China. Our mom was fortunate enough to meet our granddaughters, Sloane, Sophia, and Elise, and we welcomed 2 new grandchildren, Sadie and Dax. One of the many memories was when she drove me to ballet in New Haven for about 10 years, 2 to 3 times per week. She never complained, and we had our best conversations in the car ride. She would wait in the viewing room, knitting. Sometimes we don't realize how much someone has taught us or what a great influence they have on us until they pass. When her Alzheimer's progressed, she talked about going home. We always thought she meant Edmonton, Alberta, in Canada, where she was born, grew up with loving parents, met and married my father, which, by the way, they were married for 70 years. She also left behind her faithful companion, Tigger too, their cat, and he would only sit next to her. I don't know what happens to us when we die, but I like to think she is back in Edmonton, finally home. Thank you, Dad, for taking care of Mom. I know there were good days and bad days, and some days were very difficult. She was your faithful first mate. You never left her side. Whenever I'm missing you, I always remember how fortunate I was that you were in my life. I wouldn't trade those moments for the world. I love and miss you, Mom. Thank you.
Helene Goward achieved something with her life that is also my profound hope when I reach the end of my days. When asked what she was like, her loved ones didn't hesitate to describe her as kind. This quality ran like a thread throughout her life. One strand took the form of her career in nursing, whether attending to someone in the TB hospital in Edmonton, or helping deliver a baby in Princeton, or performing an EEG in Connecticut, Helene cared for her patients with her signature cheerfulness. Another strand of her kindness showed up right here at USNH. She was dedicated to the religious education program. She served as the co-chair of the Religious Education Committee, co-taught the sexuality and relationship program called Our Whole Lives, and spent time as an advisor to the high school youth. Helene also served the community as a member of the Board of Trustees. Then there was the kindness she showed in nurturing others. Helene was always there for people in need. In addition to her involvement at the congregation, she also volunteered with the Lung Association. She connected with people through her beautiful photography and fiber arts. Even plants flourished under her care, making, as Jan mentioned, making just about anything grow in her garden. And of course, Helene's family was the main beneficiary of her gentle, loving way of being. She wove this strand strong for her 5 children and spun a particularly special color for her beloved grandchildren, which of course will continue on in her great-grandchildren as well. And of course, she spent nearly 70 years knitting together a life with Bill. They traveled together when he gave talks about chemistry, but even more importantly, They sailed together, going back to the late 1960s. Helene served as first mate as they traveled down to the Bahamas and back, or up the Hudson River to the Erie and Champlain canals. And I should mention that they were doing this in their 80s. Their 80s, that's spectacular. They eventually traded the sailboat for a motorboat, but their love of boating didn't wane. For the last 15 years of Helene's life, Alzheimer's unwound some of her grasp on things, but her kindness and cheerfulness remained. She was no longer able to carry on as first mate, but she could carry on conversations up until the last few months of her life. Her increasing need for care led to a move to an independent living facility, and as it happened, that move happened just as COVID-19 pandemic was kicking into high gear in the United States. Unfortunately, like so many others, she caught the virus. Her family was lucky enough to get to visit with her during her hospitalization, but less than 2 weeks after she entered the hospital, she died from COVID-19. When I asked Bill what he most missed since Helene's death, he spoke of eating breakfast together and the simple joys of companionship. And here again, Helene leaves a gorgeous legacy. When I reach the end of my days, I hope my beloved cherishes the everydayness of our love, the small moments that stitch together a shared life. Helene made her life into a work of art, and its beauty lives on in all who knew her. Amen, and blessed be. So now we have a chance to hear stories from others of you who are here today, memories of Helene and what you will remember her for, how you will remember her, stories of times together. And Jesse will be kind enough to bring around a microphone. So if you could hold up your hands, he'll come around. And please be sure to hold the microphone like you're eating an ice cream cone or something. I don't know the right analogy.
I'm Greg Seaman, a member of this congregation for the last 30 years with my wife, Lois Smith. Helene was one of the pillars of the community, served on many committees and with grace and intelligence and that so very rare wisdom. I want to remember especially a time USNH had an auction where people would provide services, and Helene and Bill offered a ride on their sailboat. And we bid on that, and the bidding was really quite vigorous and ended up a few $100s. So they felt that something more than just a sail would be more in order. And so they took us all the way to Plum Gut. We swam in the evening. It was one of those magical times when every stroke with your hand there were sparks of luminescence. Mm-hmm. And then we moored for the night. The next day we came back and we thought, well, this has been wonderful, and we landed at the
Thank you. We're changing to a smaller mic. So.
I was thinking about how when someone is diagnosed with dementia, with Alzheimer's, it tends to lead to a lot of anguish and pain, but Helene did it with the grace that she did everything. And I remember once we were in the social hall and someone said to Helene, "That is a beautiful sweater, did you knit it?" And Helene looked down at the sweater and looked around and said, "Probably."
So, I came to the Unitarian Church about 6 years ago, and the first group I joined was Tuesday Conversations, and that's when I met Bill and Helena, and I used to watch Helena, where I think when other people thought she was just quiet, there were times when she just would laugh. And I don't think people caught it as much, but she would just giggle and laugh because somebody in the group said something ridiculous. So I want to say to the family, she was awesome, really nice. And that's it. Thank you.
Still works though. Yes, my name is Pat Perkins, and I'm a member of this extended family. And my memories that are special for me is that she was of Scottish heritage, as you all know, and so am I. So we had a special bond around that, and we would talk about that. And one time I had gone to the island of Lewis. She was, without any, smile or anything, she said, "Oh, did you visit my relatives?" And it took me back, of course. And at that time, she had not been there yet. But I believe subsequently you traveled so that she did get to meet her relatives over there. Many times, yeah. So, but that quiet personality I have found in being very much part of a lot of Scots, and she just carried it all the way. I will miss.
Hello, I'm Ryan, Helene's oldest grandson. Just wanted to tell a quick silly story from the first time that Nanny met Sloanie. I think Sloan was 6 or 7 months old, and Nanny, I think, sort of remembered who we were, and it was very nice to have the meeting, but the fun part of the night was there was some white wine and cupcakes being passed around, and at least 5 or 6 times Nanny asked me if she could have one, and I never said no. She probably had about 5 glasses of wine and just as many cupcakes, and it was a very special evening. So thank you all for coming.
Thank you. I'm a neighbor. We're neighbors. The thing I remember about Helene, that I'd be out in my front yard with my self-propelled lawnmower, complaining about having to do it, and my wife would be saying, "Don't do it all at once. do it half and then do the other half, take a break. And I'd look across the street and there's Helene with her push mower, mowing circles around me, 20 years older than I was, and it kind of made it a little easier to get the lawn mowed.
Thank you.
My name is Joni Rafford. I'm a member of the Humanist Society that meets here. And Bill and Helene have been longstanding members. I don't have a particularly funny story, except I just, Janice, when you spoke, there was not a dry eye in this room. And it just made me think of my own mother and how special it is to have a wonderful parent. When I see and when I read about her family and the generations, and there's a lovely new baby that we'll get to see, hopefully, when we gather outside, but it's such a tribute to Helene and Bill, the dynasty that you've, in such a good way, that you've established, and it was always fun to talk with you both at the Humanist meetings. So just thank you for this lovely, lovely day.
In total count, we are number 15.
Good afternoon. My name is Sally. I'm a member of this congregation, and it's why that's sort of important is because as I was talking to people about Helene's dying, everybody had so many wonderful words to say about her. And I think one thing that we forget was how absolutely beautiful Helene was. And she had this radiant beauty about her in her older years particularly. So it was, what would come across was really her kindness and her unparalleled beauty, which was just a gift to all of us.
Are there any other stories to share aloud? Well, thank you all for the gifts of those memories. And we also honor those that you carry in the silent sanctuaries of your hearts. I'd like to invite Ryan and Sloan up, who are going to help extinguish the chalice. And I invite you all to share in the words that are printed in the order of service. Together, let us say, we extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Before we close, I want to invite everyone who's interested. We will do the interring of the ashes in the memorial garden directly after the service. And then afterwards, there will be a reception outside to which everyone is warmly invited. Friends, we have been privileged to witness the kind of love and care and kindness that Helene Goward brought into this world and shared with all she knew. The way she wove it into the lives of her family, into the life of this congregation, and into everything she did May we all follow that thread of kindness and love and care in our own lives. So let us go and be, in our kindness and with courage, be a blessing to the world. Thank you. Amen.
Entering the ashes is very
Hello, people, we are still recording, just to let you know. And if anyone would like to, say anything about Helene that they didn't get to say during the service that's in this meeting, it'll be recorded, so we can send it to the family afterwards.
Hey, John, I've been watching. You did very well. You know, that's fine. That's part of the emotional, reality. Yeah, very good. Now I am still watching, and I think the one in front of the screen is Bill, I think. Yeah, that's what yeah, okay. Very good. Congratulations. I think all the speeches were excellent, beautiful. And yeah, and yours was the best. I'm telling you, very good. And Jim was excellent, very good. Yeah. Okay, congratulations. Okay.
Would anyone else like to record anything?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
This is Bill Jr. from Antioch, California. And family is here too. Nicole, my daughter, Steve, my son-in-law, Adelina, my second oldest granddaughter, and Charlotte, my next granddaughter. I'm grateful that this memorial service took place, even though it was a little bit late. I think it will help, at least for me, the grieving process, to be able to participate in something like this. And I'm very grateful for Zoom. And I remember my mom very fondly. She helped me a great deal. I was a very trying child and pushed it to the edge with her. And she was very patient. And I remember when Bruce talked about the turkey in the oven and the turkey in the refrigerator. I remember that. That was funny. Just opened the door and there's a cat in there chewing away on the turkey. I remember she was a Cub Scout leader, and I went through that with her. And I remember going water skiing with her and going out on the boat, and just very grateful for those, that we had those opportunities. And I think she may be in a better place now. And I will think of her fondly and miss her. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? If not, I'm going to stop the recording, and we will get this over to Bill and the rest of your family. All right. Thank you.